Welcome to the Liquidity event, a show about all things personal finance with a laser focus on taxes, financial independence, and equity compensation. Hosted by AJ and Shane of Brooklyn FI, each episode will focus on a personal finance topic, some driven by news headlines and sometimes driven by listener questions. And sometimes you'll just get two money nerds rambling about what they think is interesting. Just a quick note before we get started, this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered tax or investment advice.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Liquidity event. I'm your host, Shane Mason.
And I'm Allie Jane, AJ, Ayers.
And this is episode 156, being recorded on August 27th and airing on August 28th. You can email us your finance questions at liquidityevent@brooklynfi.com. If you don't, we will pull them from Reddit. If you do, we will answer them live on the air. AJ, how are we doing this week? Where are you in the world?
I'm doing great. I am in Palm Springs, California. It is 7 a.m. I have been up since 4 doing stuff. I've been on a walk this is my happy place. For those of you that don't know, I often retreat to the desert because I am in fact a lizard in human form.
Is that when lizards wake up, 4 a.m.? That's when the sun cracks over the edge and the cold blood gets a little heat on it?
Yeah, lizards just like follow the heat. So like in the day, they just like sit on like hot rocks to like warm themselves up. So yeah, just kind of that loving the ultra dry, ultra hot desert air is the lizard quality that I'm referencing.
Hell yeah. Love to see it.
Where in the world are you?
I am back in Greenpoint after a week away at camp last week, being Counselor Shane. Counselor Shane. Can I have a starburst? A lot of those questions last week. Can I go over there by myself? No. You can't go anywhere by yourself for the 500th time. You can't play basketball. You're supposed to, camp was fun last week. 4th year at camp, actually. It was kind of crazy.
Can we get a 30 seconds on what type of camp this is?
Yeah, it's always tough to answer that question because it's like you feel like you're virtue signaling. So I'm just going to get right into it. It's a grief camp where I go and I volunteer. It's for kids that have lost one or both of their parents. Or if the parents are not the primary caregiver because they were never in the picture, it could be a grandma, could be a spouse for some of the counselors, a lot of cousins and siblings for the kids as well. So they go. It's 95% camp. It's free for them. Great facilities. There's there's clinicians, I should say, therapists on hand there at camp, and we talk. There's a lot of therapy that happens. It's 95% camp, but 5% therapy. So. For the young kids and the older kids, it's a lot of crying and regret and anger, etc. And then for the 13-year-olds that I had this year, it's a lot of like gay, fart, and hard R jokes that I have to punish them for.
And how did your experience at grief camp differ from your experience at Brooklyn FI's retreat 2 weeks before?
Oh, how was it different?
Yeah.
Not a lot of differences. I'd say there was more crying this year at the BKFI retreat than there was at grief camp this year. Unfortunately.
That's really awesome. I love that you do that, and I know that you've also lost a parent, so you have like a very personal connection to these kids. And to me, as a human who's always trying to solve human problems with interesting, ways like science and also feelings. Like, I just love the idea that like kids get a chance to like get out of their like sad, potential like shitty situations and just go hang out with other kids, get to be a kid, but also have this sort of, having psychologists on staff to help guide people like you. Like, you're not a trained, you don't know how to work a 10-year-old through the 7 stages of grief, but you can play basketball with them and get them out of their, distract them for a little bit and make sure they're having a great time, which it seems like the goal is that the kids have like a really great time.
Yeah. I'm essentially a babysitter.
What's it called again?
It's called experience camps for those that want to. The main thing that we need is counselors. So if you or anyone in your life, anyone listening to this knows somebody, between the ages of 20 and 80, you don't have to be young or old, that has lost somebody. This is also not required, but somebody that can spend a week essentially babysitting kids and for 5 or 6 days. That's mostly what we do. And the clinicians take care of the therapy part. So that would be fantastic. So thanks for highlighting
for you,
that.
you've also talked about Yeah, you've also talked about like the relationships you've made with like the other counselors. Like it's, really successful, cool professionals who like care about the world. So
Yeah.
it's a really interesting opportunity to meet friends, as an adult who have the same values as you. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Some really great. If you can imagine the type of person that will spend a week, there's actually, in a crazy way, a lot of international people that fly to America just to,
cool.
like, they take their, months of PTO if you're from UK, but they fly over here and then they fly right back afterwards to get back to work. It's really admirable.
Yeah, if they're from the UK, 1 week of PTO, that's like 1/100th of their allotted PTO. It's like a bank
Right.
holiday all of August in the UK anyway.
Yeah. They were flying home on Sunday and they're like, oh, don't worry, mate. Monday is actually a bank holiday for us. I was like, oh, of course it
Yeah,
is.
so it's always bank holiday.
What is a bank holiday?
It's just when the banks are closed. It's like they make up some weird shit. I don't know. Yeah, Nabil's company is British, and he's always like, "Oh, bank holiday. No one's emailing."
Yeah.
Going for
What
a
the
walk.
hell is a bank holiday? Were like the bankers so powerful at one point they were like, no, we're not working today.
I think it's,
we run the world.
I'm not going to speculate. Yeah, no, just don't worry about it. Just go back to the fields.
Yeah.
Take a day off.
Yeah.
We're busy. We're busy counting our galleons.
Yeah. Our doubloons. Yeah.
Doubloons.
Cougarans. Okay, anyway, let's get into the episode. On this week's episode, we have young people putting off relationships until they are making more money. OpenAI is warning that AGI will make money useless. Okay. Some updates on the IRS, what they're going to do, how they're going to handle the one big beautiful bill. Jesus Christ, I can't believe that's a part of our permanent infrastructure at this point. Empowered. One 401k company is being sued for deceptive sales practices, and then a couple of Reddit questions about how to be a good billionaire and how often you're rebalancing. AJ, what's going on with you? You've got some notes here about AI.
Yeah, I added this while you were at camp last week. I thought, we ask each other, like, what are we reading, da-da-da. And I thought, because AI is going to change the future in ways that we don't know yet, which we'll also talk about, how are you and I using AI in our daily lives? So you don't have to have something, but if you have found a interesting use case for it, I did this week, actually. I have been trying to... How do I say this? When I'm in California and there's like lots of good food and like produce around, like I just find myself like if I'm working from home, I just like eat all day long. Like I'll make breakfast and then I'll like snack and then I'll like go get ice cream and then so I'm like, okay, it gets a little out of hand. So I was like, I'm gonna just like track what I eat. And ChatGPT is actually really great at this. You can say, hey, I want to like track my calories for the day, help me do that. And so it'll email you reminders. You can like just take a photo of your food and be like, this is what I ate. It's not groundbreaking, but it's just a really nice way as like reminder of like, hey, what you're eating. And like, okay, last night I was at a friend's house and I had already hit my, calories for the day. I was like, am I going to have another margarita? No, I'm not going to have another margarita. So just as like a little bit of a accountability coach is my best use of AI for this week. Just a fun little life hack. What about you? Anything cool?
I use it every day. Probably. I don't think about too much. One thing I did recently, since you're asking, is I have like some injuries, so I'm trying to get into running. So just asking it what kind of like, here's the type of running I want to do. It's similar to Orange Theory, but I don't want to go to Orange Theory classes. How could I recreate that experience on a track here in Greenpoint where I'm staying for the next couple of weeks? And so it recommended, gear as well as apps, as well as when you should go and how to like all that stuff. I'm working through some decisions around partnership right now with like a therapist. I'm like, give me some books like to help me think through this and work through this. I just recommended 5 books, but they're like specialized to what I'm specifically trying to do. Also, like in a more technical perspective, I asked it, like it has this new, ChatGPT has the new codex feature, which you can actually link it to your GitHub and it will analyze the code within your GitHub. So I've had some personal projects in there that it's like analyzed for me. It's like embarrassing. But like hopefully it can like analyze the pull and push requests that are going to be happening in the future to see like, here's how it's going to impact the code. Here's, it's really good at coding. So once I get around to that, I'm a quick start on a bunch of things and I don't finish a lot of, I sold my boat last week from camp. So
wow!
After
Congrats.
multi-year, so
R.I.P. Manaya.
R.I.P. Manaya. She's on her way to South Carolina with Billy and Jamie.
Wow.
Who are
That's great.
It's a project boat now.
Love that. Yeah, good chapter closing for you there.
For sure.
We had a good run.
Yes.
She was a mighty steed on the seas.
I learned a lot. Learned a lot from her, both positive and negative, and excited for the next boat. But yeah, help me draft a bill of sale and a vessel purchase agreement and figure out how to execute those sales. So it's good for legal stuff. So I don't think you realized I was going to have 17 answers to the question.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
I think this is, I mean, instead of talking about the bullshit we're about to talk about with the CEOs of these AI companies, like, what's the Harry Potter command to disarm you with the wand?
Talking to the wrong guy. I did just read 6 of the books, but I don't remember.
You just read Harry Potter. When they're like, Expelliarmus. Like, I just imagine, like, it's like Sam Altman and Elon Musk just being like, Expelliarmus, Expelliarmus, like back and forth until the world dies. But instead of talking about that, we can actually just talk about how we are using it, because we're getting these claims that it's going to change everything. So far, I have found it to be helpful, like a little fun robot that like makes tasks easier,
100%,
but not necessarily life-changing for me. It has not impacted my life in a massive way yet. I enjoy it, and I want to remain up to speed on how to use it, and I keep exploring and asking ChatGPT what ways I could be using it more in my life, and it's always like, it's interesting. I'll try that. Like, yeah, thanks for the book recommendation, or thanks for helping me stay in shape, but like nothing groundbreaking yet.
I will give you a fail on that front. I was really excited about the agentic features of wherein it can go to websites. And so I was like, I'm getting back into sailing now. And so I was like, find all the, like on a part-time perspective and not as an owner. So I was like, go to this website, go through all the listings. There's like a Craigslist for sailing adventures. I was like, and pull them all out and put them in a spreadsheet for me. And like the agent was supposed to go over there and do all that, but it got stuck at that I'm not a robot thing. And it was like, hey, it's asking me to confirm I'm not a robot, and you can actually take over the mouse and go in and say and click the button. And I did, and it still failed. It was like it just goes on an infinite F5 reload loop, and I'm like, all right, what are we doing here? Like, all right, AGI is a couple years away, not like it's not here yet. So
it's also just it's one of those things. Well, I'll get to it.
Sure. Yes. By the way, anyone that's more interested in how other people are AIing, the Lenny's newsletter for developers has an How I AI Substack, and those are just super fun to watch. They have like highly produced 30-minute videos on how certain developers are using AI. One guy just did a pod or an episode about how he listens, quote unquote, to 36 podcasts a week by having his agent go and like summarize them all for him. So if there's anything that he wants to double click on, he just goes and does that. So that's a good example. But yeah, I'm into this, like how we AI'd over the past week. AJ, let's keep that one rolling. So 12 minutes into the episode, we are going to start talking about our articles now. I have an introduction for you. The New York Times article, they put off relationships until they earned enough money. It's an article exploring how money talk has moved from taboo to table stakes in modern dating. Do you think that bringing salary into the first conversation makes relationships more transparent or just more transactional? AJ, what do you think about this article about how people are putting off dating until they have more discretionary income?
It's an interesting one. I think people are generally afraid of relationships going south during their prime. So whether it's money or physical fitness or deciding whether you want to have kids or being prepared to have kids, I think these like kind of like big life things, our generation specifically, which it seems like this article is talking about, is like we are just concerned more with being more of a whole person before we partner up. And I think money is really related to that. And that's, there's a life coach coming in here with the heavy hitters. Love doesn't have a price tag. Like, thanks. Thanks.
Shut up.
Coach. Like,
shut up.
An executive coach who lives north of Boston. Thanks. Thank you, Michael, for that insight. So I don't know. Money and relationships. I just wrote 8,000 words about money and relationships for my book. So I have some of those ideas floating around, and I think the main one is transparency and trust. I don't think the first date is necessarily the best place to be transparent, but maybe the fourth or fifth date. Like, what are your expectations? What kind of lifestyle do you want to lead? I also don't want people to get stuck in this idea of, he's broke or she's broke and I can't, move forward with this, because people move through different phases in their lives. You and I are really great examples of that. There was a period of 5 years where it was rice and beans and dollar slices of pizza, and then that changed. So you become a different money person at different stages in your life. So I think being open and honest with your your person on your first date saying like, hey, I'm between jobs right now, but I used to have a really great job that I loved and I made a bunch of money. It's likely that I'm going to return to that in the next couple of years. So, hey, we're not going to, I can't even think of a restaurant in New York right now. I'm so California pilled right now. We're going to 11 Madison. We're not going to 11 Madison Park this week. We're going to go to,
there it is.
we're going to go to Spicy Village and have some great noodles, and we're going to have a great time.
Can always lean on AJ to hit the center of the country with her references. Yeah, I don't see it. Yeah, I mean, my note here is that I don't really see this article resonating much with the conservative voters or our conservative listeners of this podcast. The one person that might lean moderate or what have you. It's just like an art. It's just focusing on a guy. Like one of the examples is a guy in San Francisco that's making six figures that only has $500 left over each month after paying his rent. Like, it's a New York Times article, right? Like they know who they're talking to. I think it's going to be different for the middle of the country versus those of us living in coastal cities and dealing with that conversation about the changing nature of masculine and feminine roles in relationships and how men have a lot of opportunities to step up into the emotional burden, into the house care burden or home care burden, and domestic burden, so to speak. But yeah, there's a couple of girls, women speaking about how they weren't excited about the men that they're encountering in the dating world in the big cities in this space. So, I mean, overall, this is a kind of a depressing article. It's not like a long, Atlantic or New Yorker piece, but it's just reiterating that people, they're waiting until later on in life until they have more money to get into relationships. So I don't think that's terribly surprising. I think you are taking a bigger risk. Like one girl in here was dating a guy that was in college and he couldn't pay for anything because he was in school. I'm like, are you going to marry? Yeah. Like, are you going to marry potential or are you going to marry something that's solid? And it looks like being solid is something that's being pushed into our 30s, which I think all circles back to Citizens United. Just like all problems on this podcast that we discuss, AJ, circle back to money in politics and wealth inequality money filtering up to the ruling class. Oh, sorry. I got distracted for a second.
No. No, all problems stem from childhood. And it's like, how did you grow up? Like, was money scarce and a problem for you? Did your parents fight about money? Like, you're going to want stability. Like, if that was a problem and your childhood was sad and scary and uncertain, and maybe it wasn't extreme as there wasn't food on the table, but it was like, oh, we can't do that because we can't afford it, or you can't go to that thing with your friends because we can't afford it, or dad didn't pay child support this month, like, you're probably going to seek out someone who's got a stable income because you don't want to have that experience for your potential children.
Right on. Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
I love that. Right on. Well, speaking of San Francisco, we have a Business Insider article. OpenAI warns that investors that AGI may make money obsolete while raising billions of good old US dollars. Digging into the irony of chasing funding while predicting the end of finance as we know it. AJ, do you think this is a bold honesty about the future or a convenient marketing ploy for OpenAI to warn that money may not be a thing in the future thanks to our technology?
The latter. Yeah, I'm going to go with the latter on that one.
So you think money will be worth stuff in the future?
I think money will be worth stuff in the future. Yes, you could go ahead and quote me on that. To our producers, let's make sure we grab that clip. Money will be worth stuff in the future, says AJ and Shane, combined decades of experience as financial advisors and accountants. No, but I mean, the crux here is a lot of hype around AI, a lot of money flowing into the space. Is it a bubble in the financial sense of the term? Is there too much money? Are we overestimating the ROI? Is AI actually going to replace, 500,000 jobs and make it cheaper to run businesses? A study from UBS says no. There was an MIT study that found 95% of firms, I don't know what a firm is, I assume it's just a company, surveys that they had seen no measurable return from AI investment to date. 95%'s a lot. I don't know where this survey came from, but 95%'s a lot.
Came from MIT.
60%. No, but I don't know how many firms did 95% of what?
Came from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Institute of Technology. You got to go pack your car and have it yet. Next to the AI factory. What was I saying? I don't know. Altman, CEO Sam Altman acknowledging that the market may already be saturated. yet he's raising a bunch of billions for the future, for the next release of ChatGPT.
Yeah. I mean, two things I'd say here. I'd say generally AI researchers think they know how finance works, which I don't think that they do. I think this is a good example of overconfidence bias or a Dunning-Kruger effect, or conflating your expertise in one space with another place. Like I'm a genius at AI, which means that I should know that money won't be worth something in the future. Unfortunately, hoarded wealth is battling 999 out of 1,000 here. I think we have two examples where I think the Cuban Revolution, where hoarded wealth didn't quite work out for the people there, and also the French Revolution, where that turned out to you could end up on the guillotine. But yeah, I think this is a pretty interesting marketing ploy. I think it's pretty funny to say that you should not invest in your 401k, or we're not going to invest in the future because AI will lead us into a Wall-E-like future. I think AI is really... I always go back to Wall-E when I think about a future that involves AI, where everything is handled for us. But I bet you the people in Wall-E with the nicest living cabins had the most money before AI took over. So I don't know.
I agree. I think, well, the lead really got buried here because in this article was a link to another Business Insider article written by Rob Price. And the title of this, I just love the title. The AGI Pilled and the Damned. Bracing for the all-powerful AI, techies are getting hot, spending their retirement savings and building bunkers. And it's basically about these young-ish, they call them a boyish-looking AI researcher. This one's name is Henry, believes that there is about a 50-50 chance that in the next few years, AI will become so powerful and sophisticated, it will pose an existential threat to all human life. Potentially. And basically what these very young researchers are doing is swearing off romantic relationships to dedicate himself to the cause. And he donates a third of his income to AI safety nonprofits. In his free time, he's preparing for the possibility of failure by building DIY bioshelters to protect him and his family from an AI apocalypse. When you have founders who come up with these big future changing and future defining ideas, like AI is going to change the world, we're going to Mars, we're going to go on a rocket, you're going to have the entire knowledge of all human history in a little device in your pocket. Like, these big ideas, you get a lot of stupid people who buy into them and who take it. It's like in the absence of religion, they take this like techno future as dogma. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of really smart kids. I mean, these are kids. They're in college or they're just out of college who have learned how to code. They see the future, but they haven't had enough life experience to know that, like, maybe this isn't the right future, guys. So I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit here. And these articles are delicious to read, right? It's like, look at these crazy people. I have a lot of empathy for young people who have such little faith in the future of humanity is what I get from this AI babble.
Well, the boomers won't be around forever. So biology will take over. We'll take the wheel at some point. We'll get hopefully some change up in Congress and some legislation that will help us deal with this revolution. But yeah, I hear you. People without a fully developed prefrontal cortex are getting quoted for their future planning. Unfortunately,
Speaking
here in this
of
article.
which,
what's up?
Speaking of which, happy Burning Man to those who celebrate.
Oh, okay. No, those people. I think the average age of Burning Man's in the 40s at this point. AJ loves the Schadenfreude of Burning Man every year. It's
my favorite time of the year, watching the tuck.
Yeah, attacking the VCs.
Watching the dust, the dust drift across the playa and destroy the $20,000 camps that were built and the art.
Yeah, that's a noble cause. Anyway. The smartest people. There's another.
It's a noble cause.
It used to be.
Wait, you say noble cause?
It used to.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
I mean, I'm not a Burning Man defender. It used to be cool. A long time ago, you just go build some shit in the desert, and then it got co-opted, just like everything does. It's in stage 4 gentrification, Burning Man, where the rich people have now entered, and it's no longer cool.
Yeah. There's private equity-backed coffee shops on every corner.
Exactly. Yeah, it's Burning Man is in stage 4 gentrification. The last thing I wanted to highlight here in this article is somebody quoted, "The smartest people at OpenAI are taking $6 billion off the table. That should tell you everything you need to know," from Elena Gold of Red Beard Ventures. Okay, look, The company's worth $500 billion. Some people.
Are they talking about are you talking about the tender offer? Yeah,
yes, duh. Yes. Some people are taking $6 billion off the table. Imagine you had a piece of pizza and it was worthless. It was worth $20. And suddenly one slice of that pizza is worth $15 million. Would you sell that piece of pizza or would you fucking eat it? You would sell that piece of pizza, obviously. Okay? So relax.
And you'd have 9 delicious
Elena
slices. So chill the fuck out,
yeah.
Elena.
All right. Your take might work on some, but taking chips off the table at your company does not mean that you know that the company is going to be worthless or what have you. You should take chips off the table occasionally from a financial planning point of view, folks. All right, so moving on to the next article, we have something less exciting but very relevant to everyone that listens to the podcast because it has to do with the IRS. On the IRS's website, the IRS has announced that no changes to the individual information returns or withholding tables for 2025 will be updated under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Do you think people will be relieved by this stability or disappointed that there's no simplification in sight for people under the new bill, AJ?
People will believe whatever their podcast host flavor of the week tells them to believe. So I think it's going to be a 51-49 split in favor of we're happy with the stability.
Yeah, so there were some big updates from the Big Beautiful Bill that are going to impact you or somebody in your life that you know or somebody that you work with because there's supposedly no longer any taxes on tips. Is one update of 4. There's no tax on overtime is the second update. There will be no tax on car loan interest. It permits a deduction for any interest that you paid on auto loans, and there will be a special tax deduction for senior citizens. AJ, what do you think of these? There's been a lot of pushback from even conservative TikTokers where they realize that in order to get an exclusion for overtime, you have to have a certain amount of income, which is below, like 50, 60,000. And that just doesn't apply to a lot. If you're qualifying for overtime, if you're like a union pipe, iron worker or electrician or what have you, you're making too much money. The no tax on tips has got similar provisions that exclude a lot of people from qualifying for it. What do you think, AJ? What's going on with you?
I think people generally just misunderstand tax code so hilariously, and that yet again we have tax code that benefits mostly the ultra wealthy and then the very poor, which is fine. I think we should lift up the very poor, but unfortunately the people who are left out of these updates are people who are earning living wages. And we talk a lot about being coastal elites, but there are people like a living wage in Cincinnati is actually going to be higher. You're not going to qualify for certain credits here because you make quote unquote too much money to take advantage of any of these updates. So I think, again, this is just a big, goof by the American people of getting confused about what politicians' interests are for them. And there's actually not a ton in this bill that's going to help the growing middle class, which I define as people who are have enough money to cover their basic needs, a little bit more for some of their wants, but are not in danger of not being able to put food on the table.
It's sad. Yes, it's sad. I saw a quote recently. It's about how when historians look back at this period, they won't be surprised. The thing they'll be most surprised by will be the people that voted for the dismantling of their own welfare. Moving on. Reddit questions. You ready for Reddit questions? Is there anything else you wanted to cover on the Big Beautiful Bill? We should have webinars at BKFI once we get some more clarity from IRS regulations, because once they drop this legislation, the IRS has to chime in and talk about how they're actually going to enforce it. We should see some more of that later on this year from the IRS. Anything else we should touch on?
Yeah, I just want to flag the Big Beautiful Bill thing that will likely impact our clients the most is our updates and changes to QSBS, Qualified Small Business Stock. So if you work at a startup or have worked at a startup in the past 5 years, the rules are changing. They are getting better for you. So just want to flag that. If you have exercised any stock options or are thinking about exercising stock options, this year might be a good year to do it. So get your tax planning done now before the end of the year, because we used to have to wait a lot longer to get tax benefits. We used to have to wait 5 years. Now, potentially, we're going to wait 3 years. So just wanted to kind of remind everyone, always be Googling QSBS if you work at a private company, as my PSA for the day.
Sick. All right, cool. I think we have time for one final Reddit question today, AJ. So I am going to get into billionaire space here and ask you, would you rather be a public billionaire like those listed in the Forbes or Bloomberg indexes, or a secret billionaire where your net worth isn't publicly disclosed, or a secret third thing? Allie Jane Ayers, what would you? It's a secret, so you don't know. So what would you rather?
Okay, well, obviously I'm picking the third one.
Little misdirection for ya.
I think that we need more positive role models in our society. I think we have a lot of negative folks who trade in big harmful ideas and materialism. And I think we need models of people who are good stewards of the planet and like are good people, like their community. You're not going to like this, but I'm going to bring up Taylor Swift, who is, in my opinion, a great billionaire. She, for better or for worse, makes it very public about her priorities. She pays her staff well. She donates to food banks when she has concerts in their cities. She goes to children's hospitals and surprises kids who are suffering from, terminal illnesses. Like, you want to call it performative, that's fine. She's still doing it. And we don't see a ton of that from our other billionaire friends. I also think of Jeff Bezos and his ex-wife. The way that they have used their money is very different. Mackenzie Bezos, famously donating billions, mostly to the cause of education, to make sure that the next generation doesn't fuck up the planet and our society. So I think we do need more public billionaires who are, for lack of a better term, virtue signaling, or saying like, hey, I have so much money, I'm going to do some good things with it. Yeah, of course I'm going to have a nice house and I'm going to fly my private jet around because it's convenient and I'm not fucking walking through TSA. Sorry. I worked hard for this money, but I'm going to do a lot of good with it. So I think if you gave me $1 billion tomorrow, I think I would probably be a performative, here's all the causes I care about that I want everyone else to care about. And yeah, I play a lot of golf for sure, which I would probably get made fun of for, and that's okay.
Nice. You stole my Mackenzie Scott reference, which is chill. I think, being famous for giving it away is awesome. She's still got $30 billion to make a move with, so I think that's really cool. To clarify, I love Taylor Swift personally. I just think her music is boring. And there should be more oxygen for independent artists. But besides that, I'm with you on all that. The airport thing, I think we need something between Delta One and private. I think. Yes. I hear you. I think if I was Mackenzie Scott, I would fly private as well because I have to go, I guess, like NetJets is there, or whatever that is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
like Jets shares.
I'm not rich enough to know how that works. But yeah, if I was rich and famous, I would not be taking my shoes off at TSA. There needs to be something between taking your shoes off with genuine population of a prison, and flying private at $10,000 an hour.
I mean, to your point, like, the question, this Reddit question is basically about like, is it better to be public facing billionaire, have your wealth on display, or be completely anonymous? Mm-hmm. And I think the anonymous part is appealing because you get to stay in touch with reality. Like, Jeff Bezos can't walk through an airport. Like, Jeff Bezos cannot have normal interactions with humans because he's so famous and everyone knows who he is. So he doesn't have a chance to build those empathetic relationships. He doesn't have an interaction with the Starbucks worker who's tired because they're working 3 jobs and they got laid off from their $300,000 a year software job 2 years ago and they can't get a new job. Like, he doesn't have those interactions. He only hears them, from podcasts or reads articles. So like, the secret billionaire-ness of it gives you an opportunity to, hide and blend into society, have interactions with the TSA workers or the clear workers or the pilot or the stewardess, the flight attendants. Like, without that, with anonymity, you have an opportunity to maintain a connection with regular people. And I think that's a huge problem in politics today, is just like, our politicians are so famous and so outside the regular people. The only interactions they get are coordinated by PR teams. So that's my rant.
I'm with you.
If you're a billionaire, make sure that you meet real people and they don't know who you are.
Hell yeah. Right on. Love that answer. I think that's a great time to wrap it up. We're going to hit the wrap it up button. And thank you so much for listening to episode 156 of the Liquidity Event. You can email us your financial problems at liquidityevent@brooklynfi.com. And all of you freaky stands out there can leave us a review if you want to be weird about it, whatever, y'all. Thanks so much, guys.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.